True love and prayer are learned in the hour when love becomes impossible and the heart has turned to stone. This is Thomas Merton.
I agree with the quote, and I think it's true. And I also think it's one of the most difficult things ever. And two things come to mind. One is when a child is having very big emotions and very big feelings. Most of the times, a parent either wants to escape, flee, it's too much, or they want them to stop. They want the child to stop what they're doing. If it's like a tantrum, they want them to stop, or they get into like head to head. And the thing is, in that state, what a child needs is that love. There's another quote that says they need it the most when they least look like it, or something like that. When they least deserve it. I didn't like that word. But yes. And if we look at a bit of science here, look at the brain, when the child is having really big feelings or emotions, the rational side of the brain is actually closed up. It's closed off, and no discussion, no negotiation, no logic kind of talk will seep through or will reach them. They're in a heightened state of emotions, and the only way to reach them is through their heart, through the same way with emotions. It's the most that is needed, and it's the most effective at that state. Although it is also very difficult.
Mm-hmm. I go to this part when the heart has turned to stone. If we think of it, right, when does the heart turn into stone? It's when feeling is too much to bear. When it's too painful and there's no one else around me to help contain everything that is going on. And this heart turning into stone is all about vulnerability. It's about not having a space, a safe space to feel. And then as parents, how can we create that vulnerable place? Because it's very hard to turn back the heart from stone to feeling, to moving. It can be hard, but it can only be achieved through true love. Only love can conquer that heart of stone.
Yeah. And once again, I feel like it's something that can be learned or experienced because of now how we know with also brain science that our brain can be rewired, and it's not just a matter of our brain has fully formed like what science once believed years ago, but that it's always constantly rewiring. And if we can teach ourselves that in these moments where it is very hard or it is very tough and challenging, that we can soften, we have the tools to soften in, then the neural pathways in our body will learn to do that. And going forward, it will learn that this is how the circuits work for me to be able to soften, for me to be able to let love in when my heart has turned to stone.
Yeah, I was also thinking about reverting this to the parent, because it's very hard to feel when you don't allow yourself to feel. And we can be there for our children, and we can help them find their vulnerability when we have our spaces for vulnerability, when we have someone that we can be vulnerable with. And that can seem messy at first and hard to do, but it can change so much, not just in the relationship to the child, but also to ourselves and to everyone else around.
Also the idea of going to a person's edge where it's difficult and then softening, going to where it's challenging and then softening. And the idea with that is, if we compare to exercise, and I'm sure we can think of different comparisons, it's when it's sometimes really, really tough and you're at that stretch or that muscle, and then you push yourself a little more, is when it grows or when it strengthens. Or so the idea is to just, I don't know, Anca, if you are following what I'm trying to say,
is that when it seems too much, you can still soothe, you can still be there
in that final stretch, in that final push, in that final lap, is when you can open up more and you grow more, is I think what I want to say, is that where the growth happens. So in the moments that matter, when it's challenging, when it's tough, when the child is having a tantrum, when you're having a tough day, it's in these moments that if you're able to open up your heart, it's in these moments that the compassion really thrives, because you're able to do that.
What comes up is the resilience definition, that it's after we go through hard times, is that we are able to still stand up and to learn and to become even stronger by having passed through that experience, by having experienced the event, let's say.
Yeah.
It's to find somehow power or strength in the overcoming the event. Yeah, I was also thinking about self-compassion, to bring it to self-compassion, because it's not just children that need our love the most when they go through hard times. It's also ourselves. Can we be there for ourselves and hold ourselves with compassion?
That's so beautiful. In the moments where we are hard on ourselves and the inner dialogue is saying, you should have done this, you didn't do this right, you were late here, you dropped the ball on this. In these moments is when love would really matter. And can we say to ourselves, you tried your best, you really cared about what was happening, I see how much you cared, I see how much you tried, you're still worthy, you're still valuable,
Mm-hmm.
Can we do that in these moments?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most moments that these words would really resonate and would really be needed. You made a mistake and I still love you and I'm here for you, and that's fine.